right. Sorry about that delay, guys. Welcome back to the Scrabble Players Championship 2026 in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Rapid fire commentary here. Josh Sokol, Matt Canik. We have a great matchup for you guys. Not the one we expected, though.
Yeah, we're doing a little bit of a pivot, showing two players from my home state instead. Orry Swift, one of the favorites to win this tournament, against a face that should be familiar to some of you if you have read Word Freak, Jim Geary. Jim was a very, very, very strong player for much of the 90s and 2000s, took quite the hiatus from Scrabble, but has been back in the last year or so. Don't write him off at all. I'm very excited to see the return of Jim Geary, and I'm very, very excited to see it here on stream at the SPC. You ready, Josh?
Yeah, we are ready. Cut over to the board. Let's see him in the flesh for the first time ever, I think. This is his first time ever being streamed. He's come back from, like you said, extremely long hiatus, but a legend of the game. And Orry Swift right now is in third place in the standings. Of course, it's still early. Only 2 rounds have been played, so anything can happen. But yeah, Jim has been a legend of the game for a very long time, since I think before I was born. Matt.
Yep. Played his first tournament in 1992 and was rated 1841 just 3 months later. Broke 2,000 for the first time just 3 years into his playing career, which is downright crazy. So Jim Geary, absolutely a titan. He took a 17-year hiatus from 2009 until 2026, though I do have a hilarious Jim Geary story. In the middle of said hiatus, he donned a fake mustache and snuck into the Houston Scrabble Club under the pseudonym Jeremy Saga, an anagram of James Geary, his real name, and went undefeated, dropped several 500 games, even won himself a post as, look at this hot new newcomer we've got at the Houston Club, dropping 500 points. And then he pulled off the mustache and revealed he was really Jim Geary the whole time. True story. That is real.
It's such a beautiful story, and yeah, I've never heard anything like that. It's such an amazing feat. I love his little mop hat there too. But yeah, Jeremy Saga has revealed himself to be none other than the legend himself, and he'll be going first. So you get a slight advantage going first in a Scrabble game. So yeah, against, I think, still an overdog. You can't really take a 17-year hiatus and be at peak, but so many legends in Scrabble that can just come back and start taking names. So this is anybody's match to win. Very excited.
Yeah, Jim Geary behind the famous Water Zooey play that I think was the first famous Will Anderson video. So maybe you recognize the name from that situation way back when. Jim is definitely welcome addition back to Scrabble. And we are getting underway here in the Battle of Houston. Jim from the Woodlands just west of Houston, and Orry has just thrown down a homestead on 19 acres near Beaumont to the east of Houston. So a matchup of two Texans. Jim Geary, QHBU to start things off. Will he find another vowel?
Whoa.
No. Yucky, though. Y-U-C-H-Y. That's a thing, right, Josh?
Yeah. You must. I guess you play that with the first Y on the star. So normally you don't ever want to separate the Q and the U.
Yucky's not valid.
They're good friends, but but he's looking at it. Oh my God. Orry would know if this is valid or not, I think.
Wow,
but that does, okay, so there's yucky, there's so many words like this. So yucky, invalid, but he's about to start the game off with the phony and played in the right spot. Is Orry going to take this off the board?
Wow, all right, what an interesting first turn. Yeah, I thought this was a word, you thought this was a word. Orry's got the play on hold. Jim has not drawn his replacement tiles. Wow, all right, a very interesting start to this one.
Yeah, Orry like, what? Do I recognize this? Well, this is going to be a very good test for Orry. His word knowledge is fantastic, but everybody, like you said, has holes. It looks like Jim is drawing his provisional tiles. Orry emoting very hard here. This doesn't mean that the play was accepted, but Jim can draw his 5 tiles, keep them separate from the 2 tiles left on his rack, while Orry debates on his time whether to challenge. And also, given that what Orry has, does he have a 7-letter word on this rack, Matt?
Yeah, he's got Fuggliest for 68, Stageful for 67, Golfiest for
Right. No, but
65.
that's what I'm
If he
saying.
leaves this on, but if he doesn't, no sevens available. So maybe you just seed the play and get the bingo down.
That's the thing. It's such a crazy position. Even if you know this is not a word and you have to be so sure to challenge it, if it comes off the board, Orry has nothing. If it stays on the board, Jim has 40 and Orry can get 70 with his blank, but I think you have to challenge and just not bingo.
If you challenge, what do you do? Do you play Elf for 12?
No, I think you just exchange.
Exchange FG,
But
right?
then he's gonna play Yuck. Oh, this is so freaking crazy. What do you do? What do you do here if you're Orry Swift? What an insane decision to start things off. And he's freaking out a little bit here. It looks like he's just gonna play Fuggliest.
He's just gonna accept
leave
it and
it
play
on.
Fuggliest.
Wow.
All right, so Jim Geary getting a phony buy on turn 1. Orry hasn't even said I accept. He's just going to bingo through it. And there we go, 40 to 68, how we start this game. Fun
Okay,
stuff.
but we have to talk about why I think you still have to challenge this if you want to play optimally. It's just that you're giving Jim 40 points. You have a blank, so you're in a great position if you just challenge this off. But I think there was just a little bit of doubt. And I think Orry just made a decision to leave it on and bingo. And let's see what Jim Geary has drawn out of the bag. You do not see that every day. So Keebla available now through that blank eye of Fuggliest, which is a new word, by the way. We'd love to see that addition. Unbelievable stuff.
Keebla might not even be the line forward. He's also drawn Alcoxy to the Y and Yucky, ALKOXY for 40, holding back the BQ again. I think Keebla is stronger, but not a slam dunk play.
Oh, and look at that. The second blank immediately for Orry. Unbelievable
Metanoia
stuff.
again.
Metanoia again. That would be hilarious. So I guess in terms of what Orry's gonna have available, if you play Keebla and Metanoia comes down, you're in fantastic position through the T in Fuggliest. But yeah, well, we see Alcoxy. That's a word you almost never see. It's a 6-letter word, contains the K and the X. I don't think I've ever seen that played on the board.
No, I don't think I've ever seen it either. And this is one of those racks you'll just never see drawn again in your life. QKX all on there together. Awkward turn for Jim, who is just stretching back in his chair now. I think if you see Kibla, KOX sets up the X, just looks a little bit too good to pass up on. But with a blank on the board, maybe you don't see it.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. The blanks can really blind you. But man, what an amazing start. Part of the beauty of Scrabble, Matt, is that, after 2 moves, the position has almost never been seen. The only time where after 2 moves the same position has existed is after an opening play of QI. And I don't know if anyone's ever played YUCHY to start the game because it's not a word. And maybe if they have, it's been challenged off. So this position's never been reached. These racks have never been seen. The rack that Jim has, the rack that Orry has been seen. It contains all 1-point tiles. People have had this rack. I think I've had this rack maybe multiple times. But the more complex, the more high scoring the letters on your rack, the more likely it is that rack's never been seen before and may never be seen again. So that's part of the beauty of Scrabble.
Yeah, you never know what you're going to see, but you do know you're never going to see it again, and it's going to be unlike anything you've ever seen in at least 1 degree. That's why we love this game so much. That's why these players love the game so much. This isn't a chess where you have to go 11 or 12 moves in to see anything novel at all, playing your standard openings. Everything is weird. This also weird. Keeping QOX is Jim Geary here. Josh,
Yeah.
thumbs up, thumbs down.
No, he just missed, I think, both Alcoxy and Keebla here. I think you cannot leave that big triple open next to the EST unless you get something huge. And Balky does kind of set up the X with AX, but it's leaving such a big spot open early on. So I think this was a miss, but two extremely hard finds in Keebler and Alcoxy, and let's see what Orry ends up doing. I feel like I would not play Metanoia if I had something better.
So that's the thing. There are only two playable bingos for Ori here. One of them is Metanoia through the T for 68. The other one, Aeration through the same T for just 61. So that's it. All he's got. If we're going to see another bingo, it's going to be a second sighting of Metanoia through 3 games. But you have to think about non-bingo options if your best bingo with the blank is just 68. It looks like the best one to me, Josh, is Isha, AECIA, for 23 through the C and Yucky. Is that strong enough to bypass the bingo, or do you play Metanoia and hold your breath?
No, you have to play the bingo here, Matt, because that spot next to the EST is so potent and the board so not potent after Isia and a potential play to the left of the EST of Fuglius. So I think you just have to go for it, but you have to just make sure there's nothing more defensive. Aeration sucks, Metanoia sucks, but at least it's 70 points or 60 points instead of 23. I think you have to play the bingo.
Metanoia coming down means an extremely straightforward Ox drop for Jim is probably coming the next turn. So it's going to be a bingo and then an X bomb to start this one.
And yeah, scores even at 68 after a very, very unpredictable, crazy start to this game. If you're just joining, YUCHY is not a valid word in Scrabble, but Orry left it on to play Fuggliest. Balky came down. That is a blank M for Metanoia, 68 points, and Jim Geary is going to respond in turn with Ox or Dox under the blank M and E for almost as much.
All right, so then, Josh, the question now is Ox or Dox? Dox is six more points, but holding the D back allows QAID plays. So Ox or Dox?
Yeah, you have to take the 6 points here. I think you already have QI available to the right of the B of Balky. So whenever you're thinking about keeping a Q, you think about what you're leaving with it. You think about, do I have a spot for my Q? And there's a couple spots. The I in Metanoia next to the B in Balky. So the extra D is just not worth keeping here. And Jim agrees, plays Dox. 61.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And we've got a 7-point game yet again. ABDELMN. Now, the post bingo draw for Orry gives him a huge play.
Oh my goodness. Mandible. Oh, he's putting in the wrong spot.
There you go. There it is.
That is insane.
Double 98. Bam from Orry.
That's just crazy. He's just bingoed on 3 turns in a row, his first 3 moves. You hate to see it if you're Jim. You love to see it if you're rooting for Orry in this game. We'll see what Jim gets. There is a possibility of a U draw potential for underlaps of the M of Mandible, but having a Q in this position is just so bad. And now 2 A's. Eek.
Eek, indeed. He's got QI in 2 different spots. He's got Niqab either with 1 or 2 A's to the B and Balky, so he can shed the Q here. I don't know that he's going to, though. There's a high-scoring play, 27 for Noria, Noria, alongside Balky. The Q's the worst tile in Scrabble, Josh. Should Jim play it here?
Oh, this is a tough one. So Noria on the right of Balky, overlapping the whole way, keeping the Q back, and I think it makes a lot of sense. The reason for that is if you keep the Q and the A together, imagine if you draw a T. If you draw a T, you'll be threatening the word COT, QAT, on top of the IA of Metanoia, making QI and AA for almost 50 points. And you'll have many other options to play the Q elsewhere on the board. So it might be an instance where you just have to hope for a better option for your Q next turn, take a slightly higher score. We'll see what Jim does.
Noria also turns over 5 tiles, and the 3 unseen S's with Metanoia sitting there seem like a pretty big deal as well. So even if I miss one of those 5 T's for QAT draws, I have a lot more chances at an S to get me back into this game. I've got more chances at those E's that are unseen as well. Noria feels okay here, especially given all the Q plays either score poorly or leave poorly for Jim.
Yeah, and again, when you have the Q, it is all about what is your ceiling and what is your floor? What are you likely to draw with it? What do you have immediately if you're going to keep it? And that will help you decide whether or not to play it. Oftentimes, when you have the queue and you don't have a good play with it, you do want to play a lot of tiles, like you said, Matt, just to potentially draw something good out of the bag, either a U or an I or something that will work with the queue on the particular board you're working with. But it can never feel good to keep the worst tile in the game and only score around 25 points. But I think you found a fantastic idea. Noria, we'll see what Jim decides to do.
He's just kind of staring off into space right now. Some players give us a pretty good sense of what they're thinking by arranging the tiles, and Jim just looking at it all. Jim, no stranger to poker faces and trying to avoid information. He is also an extremely talented poker player. And there's a lot of overlap between poker and Scrabble, isn't there, Josh?
Yeah, and you saw it, right? With the play of Yucky to start the game. That was a poker-like move. I wonder if Jim knew that it wasn't a word. If he did, that's such an incredible bluff. And QI coming down, keeping 2 A's, an N, an O, and an R. Jim has some chances at turning that rack into a bingo next turn, but he's just drawing a J, which is a decent draw, but he's not going to bingo next turn. And Orry with CEHIITU. What do you do if you're Orry Swift? You don't have a 4th bingo in a row.
Oh my God, you have to make a non-bingo play? Well, this is it. I think that's how you pronounce it, right, Josh?
Yes, yes. I'll let you do the pronouncing of this one. 34 points for HUIC, which is a really nice defensive play, blocking the S hook on Metanoia that Orry doesn't have, putting a C that there in space on the double letter score. It's going to be kind of hard to make a good play to that C, but Orry has nice letters to do so next turn.
Yeah, you hold the eye back for icy threats while you knock out the big metanoia spots, and you score really well, and you get rid of one of your eyes and the U. Okay, yeah, that does everything, and Orry doesn't waste any more time on a very straightforward turn. Is an interjection used to encourage hunting sounds. So I'm thinking my pronunciation's pretty spot on. Jim, Aajnort, looking at Raj right now. What are you looking at here, Josh?
I'm looking at the board. I always want to look at the board. What can happen on this board? I'm down over 100 points. How do I keep the board alive? How do I keep options open? I'm looking at the top left part of the board specifically and saying, oof, I would really like for that part of the board to stay open. Is there a way for me to accomplish that? And it really doesn't seem like there is with the rack like this. But options are so limited for Jim to bingo on this board. Maybe you just go for, yeah, Taj. I mean, where does Taj even play? Taj and Bit? I hate that. I think I would play something like Jota, Jota, to the left of the BAL of Baki.
Hota is 33 points, keeps A&R, which is great, but doesn't open that top left of the board. And I agree, Josh, a huge concern is getting out into that space. What Jim is thinking about right now is Raja into the A of Mandible, and that's going to make it way easier to get to the left and the top. It is a short-term sacrifice. You're leaving points on the board, scoring just 27, and you're keeping a less strong of a leave, but it keeps your long-term chances alive a little bit better. He's saying that's too much, though. I'm going to go play Hota.
Yeah, and it's not all over yet, obviously. The board is still young. You can draw a 7-letter word ending in E, that blank M of metanoia making MO. Emo is a word as wow.
Oh
That
my
is an
goodness.
incredible find. What a cool play by Orry Swift.
60
Holds your
points.
coffee cups. Gaussy for 60.
Incredible. Incredible.
That is fantastic. That is a very, very unused word, a 6-letter word, doesn't take any hooks, contains an S. Beautiful stuff by Orry Swift, showing
Yeah,
us
this
why he is always in the running to win this thing.
well spotted, well known. There is also the 5-letter GAWSY, as well as this one. And man, that is not a play that I think even some of the very strongest players in the room would spot. Well done from Orry, seems to be firing on all cylinders. And this draw gives him Vagrant through the A of Mandible, which just completely closes this board down. It's not going to score well, but it's going to be basically game over unless Jim opens the board on this turn.
Yeah, wow. What do you do now? 2 O's, a W. Where can you play off OW to open the board? I liked your idea of Raja or a jar through the A of Mandible last turn. Now it's getting even more important to keep things alive. I think maybe an overlap of Mandible would make sense here. What are you thinking here, Matt?
If he knows and spots the 6-letter Pawnor, Pawnor, that plays beneath the MA in Mandible, it gets out to the left side of the board. To me, that looks like easily the best option for him. Keep your chances alive, also get 34, open up some space. That's what I'm thinking here, Josh.
Yeah, that would be great. If you want to go a little bit more aggressive and desperate because you are down 140 points, you could play POW and PEH on top of the EH on the bottom right of the board. And that would set up an S hook. POWs is a word. There are 2 S's left, and Jim doesn't have one. So you might be wondering, why would you do such a thing? Well, when you're behind by so much, you really need things to go your way. And drawing an S is one of the things that can go your way. This play, Prow, just doesn't accomplish what you need to accomplish on this board down by so much. I think this is a miss of Pawnor.
Yeah, Panor's just a stronger play here, but Jim is starting to feel a little bit of desperation time. If this took a front hook, it would feel like a stronger play to me, but because it doesn't, as you said, Josh, it just doesn't do a lot of the things you need it to do. But it's all Jim saw here, and crucially, it does take away Vagrant, meaning Orry's going to have a harder time closing this board. We'll see what Orry opts to do here. I don't know, maybe he's just going to drop the V? That seems crazy to me.
Yeah, Vaw for 17 is what maybe you're thinking, just to eliminate counterplay mostly. If you draw an I, you get tarring and obit at the very least. So that's an interesting idea. If you're Ori, you do want to try and clamp down on the remaining spots on the board. Right now, Prow has blocked the biggest lane, the 7's lane we were talking about making emo. So now if you're Ori, would you play something like Tav and obit? Just to eliminate that line from contention as well. Even the C and Hewick now that you're up over 100 points is a threat to you.
I'd be looking at the unseen pool before I make a play like Tav and Obit. There are 2 S's out, but I'd wonder what kind of letter comes down with the 4-letter word making Obits. If there were C's unseen, I'd be scared. I don't want to give another line ending in a C for big 8-letter words. I do see 2 unseen D's, so something like DIFS and Obits could be pretty annoying for me to deal with long term as well. I don't want to give Jim the opportunity to score 30 and open up a 90-point bingo line. That seems like the one way I let a game where I'm in commanding position sneak away from me. But I also want to block the C and Quick pretty quickly, and Tav is like the ultimate way to do that.
Yeah, so when you're up by so much, the threats to you losing become more and more specific. So that's why, Matt, you're thinking about these specific possibilities. It looks like Ori putting a lot of thought into just dropping the V. Honestly, I think it's either that or Tav. I'm not seeing any other options that are really nice here. So maybe we'll see the V drop. But again, you don't really want to rely on such things when you're ahead. Relying on a good draw, a vowel draw after Va is pretty much necessary to continue to throw punches against Jim. So I do like Tav. I understand the logic of not wanting to allow a play opening the top right of the board. I think you can handle something like that.
Yeah, and it's like specifically DIES, DEES, or DIFS, and none of those are crazy. Or he's going to play VAW, and part of the reason here, if you looked at the unseen pool, the most common tiles, EIO, each of those draws 7-letter bingos. And while only tarring would fit, grantor or grantor or regrant are likely to go down if Jim opens the board. And you know Jim wants to open the board. So now you make him scared. You make him poop in his pants a little bit. You do a 1-tile fish. Can Jim still open the board? He must if he wants to win the game, but now he's got to conclude, or he's got a really good 6-tile leave. Psychology.
Yeah, wow. We'll see what Orry gets here. He's drawing 1 tile. He needs an eye for tarring. I don't think there's anything else he can draw that hits anything. But I think if you're Jim, you don't care. You just hope it doesn't happen. Or he has drawn an E, which is nice, giving him grantor. And Zoya coming down for Jim, just trying to score some points. But Orry with that A is going to be able to re-overlap very, very nicely. Was there anything else to do there?
I didn't even punch it in. I was trying to look at our next matchup already, but looking at the inflexible rack, it doesn't seem likely. No, Zoya pretty forced for Jim. So Grantor, Regrant, both drawn for Orry. Neither one fits on the board, but as you said, yeah, 33, 38, even 40 available to Orry with the underlapping plays here. Which one's your favorite, Josh?
Yeah, I want to play the G, the A, and the R, but can't quite do that. It doesn't really matter at this point. I think I just want to play. I don't want to play off my E, so I'll play something like Rat, and just keep a vowel. It's very important at this stage of the game to keep a vowel and a consonant at all times.
I actually don't know if I agree with you there. Looking at the unseen pool, 17 vowels, 18 consonants, 6 E's, 5 I's still coming. I might actually just grab points here.
It's an interesting thought. I just feel like with such a commanding lead, if you just draw consonants after a play like Gates, somehow, you could draw. There's more vowels, or pretty much as many vowels as consonants. You could draw 4 consonants, and then
Yeah.
if Jim makes some sort of setup, you're going to not be able to block it. So I like safety in number one in these positions. But in terms of just raw value, I agree that maybe you don't want to keep a vowel.
Yeah, raw value versus safety. I guess that's what you're deciding here. You have to decide if you're Ori, like, am I 100% to win this game? In that case, I'm probably going to grab every point available to me. But if I'm 95, 97, then I do want the safety net here, trying to optimize that number. So is it already game over? To me, kind of feels like yes.
Yeah, it's very, very close to it at the very least. There's not that much game left to play. The board is in a fantastic spot for Orry, but it's Jim Geary we're talking about, the Water Zoe guy. He can come up with ridiculous plans to get back in this game, so I wouldn't count him out just yet.
Yeah, and I mean, there are still huge threats on the board. A play like Vittles, Vittles, making QI an obit, or a play like Veristic, unseen down to the C and quick. So, like, just one punch from Jim, and this could be just a 20-point game or so. Or he says, I'm going to put a bunch of points on the board and just try to stay ahead of you. And we see on Jim's rack, no, he doesn't have what it takes, at least not this turn. Another tricky turn for Jim. Maybe just OOF into the F of Fugliest, Josh?
You gotta do something, right? You gotta open the board somehow. There's still enough time, as we see a 2019 champion and 2025 CSW champion Alex Seaholm in the background looking at this game. There's still some time to get 2 bingos down. So I like the idea of Oof trying to open things up. You want to try and draw something specific, maybe into the C of Hewick. If I was trying to make the decision, don't know if you can really do that with just dropping the 2 O's, but that looks pretty good to me.
There is 33 points if he wants to play Franco here through the C and Quick. Do that, Josh, or don't do that?
Yeah, Franco, I mean, again, it's early in the tournament. Trying to not lose by too much is a pretty good idea in a position like this one. We'll see if Jim is trying to win at all costs early on, or if he wants to just try and score his way potentially back into the game, but not do much to retain chances back into it board-wise, board control-wise. Franco is a new word. Of course, Jim, an older generation of player, the new words are always a little bit tougher to get back into your vocabulary.
Yeah, I don't know what to do if you're Jim. If you know spot and are 100% on Franco, I might be just throwing in the towel here. But oof, makes sense. This doesn't.
Foy instead. Interesting. Is he going for a proof word? That would be interesting. A 9-letter word to the OF on the board.
Maybe just trying to get exactly TI for anaretic. Maybe he's just like making a play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Reasonable, but yeah, not quite what we expected. Oh, that's a U. That's not good. So yeah, it looks like closer and closer to victory for Orry Swift as the moves go on. What do you do now? Is there a way to block that C, block the OB's lane for Orry? Is he considering playing
Yeah, there is.
Gall?
VLEI into the I and Wick, just 9 points, but crushes everything left on this board.
Interesting. Yeah, that looks very nice. VLEI, that'd be a very tough find, but looks like Gall instead. Just trying to block that lane that way, but leaving the C open. We talk about, we could talk a little bit about a C in late position. You might think, oh, there's so many IC words, ANCE words, ENCE words, but actually a C in late position is really, really tough to hit. So it's not a huge threat, and there's Unnerve on Orry's rack, so if Jim tries to open a lane now, he might get punished.
Orry is a great closed board player. We see him often make sacrifices in the early game, whether up or down, just to get him into these positions where he's the most comfortable in. And this is what you do on closed boards with a lead. You block some of the highest scoring threats and you try to stay flexible so that when your opponent does make the opening you're expecting, you just punch them and win the game.
So Jim, under the 10-minute mark, is it time to try and just throw in the towel, play something like Anuric to the C and just say, all right, we'll see if I can draw something crazy here, but you're probably going to win this game? Or are we going to see a fighting move that might backfire tremendously?
We will see. We saw him gunning for the C last turn. He may gun for it again this turn, but he's going to have to distract Orry. He's going to have to open another spot. And I don't really see a way for him to open another spot.
Yeah, he's looking at Uranic, which is also a word to the C in Quick. And yeah, it's just so hard to imagine winning at this point. It would be really nice if you had some sort of play 4-letter word to the right of the QI on the top right of the board, just to fork things. If something like, you could play RIA, RIA. There are no A's out for Aria though. Wow.
Oh. Yeah, is this ANI and QI, or is this Euro and like OF and just open the board?
Yeah, he's thinking about Euro. It's just also unroof might be an idea if there are fewer vowels unseen. But yeah, it's just not, it's not very nice to see this position. Looks like Orry's game with 20 tiles in the bag. You're going to have to find some miracle. Even 2 bonuses might not do it here for Jim.
Yeah, but I mean, when you start a game, bingo, 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 as Orry did in this one, it is going to be just defend that lead and hang on to it. Orry's done a great job of doing that. But Fuggliest, Metanoia, Mandible, the first 3 plays for Orry in this one. Too much for Jim to come back on.
If Euro comes down, suddenly we get Unevener. And that'll open a triple. So is Orry going to play this? I think he still will.
I think so.
Interesting. This is very interesting because Orry doesn't need this. He's up by 112. If he plays unevener for 72, he'll be up 184, and he could potentially lose to a triple triple through the U. But
Or
I think early in the tournament, Matt, you just take it.
Well, you also look at the unseen pool. There's not a 180-point triple triple left. There just aren't the letters that score enough. There's not a Q for something like squinted. There's not a CK or a CH. There's just two Ds, an M, and a P, and everything else scores one. So even if the triple triple comes, it's probably 131, 140, maybe 149. I think Orry's free to pull the trigger on this one. If there is anybody in the room who would forego the triple triple here, it is probably Orry Swift. But you see him counting. He's going to double check his paperwork and realize, I think I'm actually pretty scot-free to play this here.
Trumpets is 185. If he draws 7 vowels after unevener and gets hit with trumpets, he could lose. But he's going to go for it. And yeah, it's so hard to imagine losing after this play, even after the most damaging triple triples. So yeah, here it is, unevener. Nice play, and Orry's going to win this game by so much after this.
So ADIINNS now, the rack for Jim. He would have loved to get a bingo, a triple triple, but he can do one of my favorite things in all of Scrabble and open up another triple triple when he's down by a ton. A play like INIA, making QI and Obia, would give us something else to talk about in this game.
Let's give him something to talk about. Yeah. INIA or ANI, you were mentioning that word as a possibility last turn. But even if at this point Jim gets a triple triple, it's not going to be enough because Orry is going to be able to score something and not empty the bag. So it's over now. But there was a tiny little bit of chance that Orry would lose this game, and we did see him lose to even more favorable odds in his favor last year versus Nigel Peltier, which was just completely insane.
Yeah, I try not to play favorites in the booth, but Orry is one of my closest, dearest friends in Scrabble. I've known him over 20 years. We sleep at each other's houses and room together all the time, and that was just one of the worst bad beats I have ever seen in a Scrabble tournament, much less the last day of a national. So hoping to see him shake that off and get back on his feet in this one. Looks like he's done the trick. Jim going to play Devon and open another triple triple, but all Orry's got to do is play route or something, and this one's done.
Yeah, route, trod, something simple like that would just eliminate both triple triples at the same time. And judging by Jim's rack of EE, III, and S, it really doesn't matter. If you're Orry, you could even potentially look into the unseen pool. He has the ability to see the 12 tiles on top of his. We can't see that, but on his tracking sheet, he'll be able to see what tiles are unseen to him, and is there something I need to block, maybe through the D of Devon.
Yeah, if he does his 2 threats through the D&D Vaunt, either Seed Time or Neediest, if all 3 of the E's are on Jim's rack. So 2 triple triples you must defend through the D, none through the U.
And those are not enough to win. Seed Time, the highest score there, would score 149. Orry's up 162, so that would not be enough anyway. We'll see what he does here. Is he going to try for one himself, seeing how bad the unseen letters are? Maybe you play off an R and a T, go for something yourself. We'll see. We'll see how greedy Orry Swift is here.
Yeah, probably ROUT, drawing into a whole bunch of vowels. Keep DRST. If I draw 1 E and 1 I, which is going to happen most of the time, I've got threats everywhere, but the threats are unlikely to fit. Yeah, we'll see what he decides to do. He can do pretty much anything and be scot-free here.
But the game plays on. Again, we talk about the tiebreaker in Scrabble is how much you win or lose by over the course of the tournament. Very important to try your best to lose or win by as little or as much as possible. And it's a puzzle regardless of score. So we'll see what Orry comes up with while we're waiting for that, while we're dealing with the unfortunate news on Jim Geary's rack. Next pairing, I think, has been decided. We're going to see the 2022 Scrabble Players Champion Michael Fagan face off against long-time expert Lisa Odom. She has been the top female player in Scrabble multiple times over the years. She's been rated over the 2,000 mark, just as Michael Fagan has. And trust is the play for Orry Swift. Just getting rid of his S. He doesn't care.
Interesting. Kind of weird. Probably going to work out.
Yeah, I wonder what the thought was there. But again, all roads lead to Rome. 180-point deficit for Jim Geary. There's just one tile left in the bag. Maybe that was the idea, or you just want to leave one in the bag and try to draw a couple vowels. What's Jim Geary gonna do here? Dying, I guess, from the D and Divan makes sense. Or maybe just QI, set up his case S. You could draw into Cyanite.
Oh yeah, QI, do it. Sure, why not?
He actually will draw into Cyanite.
Oh yeah, T in the bag. Wow.
That's pretty interesting. It only fits in one spot though, and Orry will be able to block it. But pretty interesting stuff. I think that's what you do. It's you know, you empty the bag completely, so Orry's going to be able to figure out exactly what you have. But you're creating a threat. You're creating a nice spot for your S, and Orry can't block it with his own S because he just played it. Maybe that's why he shouldn't have played Trust.
We'll see. I don't care what Jim does here.
You're checked out.
I'm checked out already. I'm checking out the hat now on his head again.
Well, the thing about a game of Scrabble is you can check out, but you can never leave. No resigning.
No resigning. Oh man, Jim definitely looks like a competitive poker player right now in that outfit.
Yeah, he's just gonna play Nisi.
Fair point.
Cool. Yeah, just take the points and just not try. So okay, Nisi coming down 425, and Jim's gonna get the bad news that he would have drawn into Cyanite. We'll see if there's any reaction from the poker player. Nope, not at all. Yeah, unreadable.
I don't think Jim has cared for a little bit in this game. Did Jim draw the last tile?
Yes, it's just on the
it's way
front
over
side
on
of his
the top.
rack.
Yeah,
You can't see it, but it is the T. So, Orry Swift, endgame time, EEI. Very similar endgame to the one we saw last round, where there was no way to go out. Actually, the first round is what I think we had. Three vowel ending versus 7 tiles. So Orry going to try and maximize his winning margin here. There's 2 triples open, the triple, top middle triple, and the right middle triple. And you probably want to play on one of those. First, you have to make sure that Jim can't play EIDE or something like that. And then you just try and maximize your margin. So first thing I'm seeing is something like dime and ID for 24, keeping PRO. Is there a good spot for PRO? Not really. But you have to have some sort of way to prune plays and find something, because there's so many plays available. Even in a position like this, the game is just about over. You have hundreds of plays available with your tiles that you have to sort through and prune and try to find the best one.
I think the best end game, according to the engine, is Domic into the Sea of Quick for 30 points. Now, Jim's not going to be able to go out, and then you keep the PER combination together for some high-scoring outplays. Perm for 18 would be set up by the M in Domic, making PEH.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, normally, I guess there's a really nice way to score with Dorm or Dorp through the R and unevener, making up and but those do not leave decent outplays, and you can't play either of them because they give EIDE back. So you have to be a little bit careful.
Jim's also got a T.
Oh, he also has a T. Oops. I forgot. The T is gone. You can't see it on the rack. It doesn't exist. But Dorp is coming down. I can't imagine. Wow, this is not as good as Domic.
Oh, this gives edited as an outplay.
Oh, wow. Okay, Scrabble. Scrabble is interesting till the very end. Edited is now available. If Jim spots this, Orry is going to feel really silly.
All right, so a showdown from two of the top Texans in the room leads to a victory for Orry Swift. He, I feel like, is one of the best players in North America who has not yet won a Nationals. We did see Orry finish second place at a Nationals in 2022 to the aforementioned 2022 SPC champ Michael Fagan, who will be on stream next. But there's so many players, Josh, in this room who have been phenomenal Scrabble players who have not won a title. And we'll see if this year we get a new player who can call themselves a North American champion, or if we'll get a run it back from somebody who's won it before, such as a Michael Fagan or a Mac Meller or a Nigel Peltier.
Yeah, and if you're paying attention to the player cams, you see Michael Fagan pacing a little bit in the background now. He's right on top of Orry Swift. This nice blue, I think, is he wearing the merch? Yeah, I think he's wearing the 2026 Nationals shirt that we were all given at the start of the tournament. Yeah, a nice blue shirt designed by Jeremy Hildebrand, a player from Ottawa, Canada. Love to see art still in human form. So we will be seeing Michael Fagan playing against Lisa Odom in the next round once this end game is over. Is Jim Geary going to spot edited? He has a T off to the right. We can't quite see it on his rack. We'll get that camera adjusted for you in the future so we can see every single tile. But he hasn't spotted it yet. If he had, he would have already played it. And it's sort of a double blindness thing, Matt, sometimes when two top players are playing and one of them makes a silly oversight. It tends to be the other player that doesn't even see the oversight was made because both players assume very, very close to, if not optimal play by the other.
Yeah, I one of the best things that ever happened to me as a Scrabble player was looking into a 2000 rating, because suddenly my opponents thought that there was like a greater rationale for everything. I would make a clear blunder and then people would get in their own heads like, wait, Matt's rating is really high. He must have a really big plan. Surely Matt would never just accidentally give me a dumb out for no reason. No, Matt is pretty dumb. But the more you trust your opponent, the more likely you are to be blind to their blunders. Great point, Josh.
Yeah, and it's interesting. What tends to happen also, at least for me, is I'll make a play like Dorp, hit my clock, and be like, oh, shoot.
Yes.
And if that does happen, you also have to keep your poker face if you really don't want your opponent to see, because tells are a thing in Scrabble. They aren't really used to the point that they're used in poker because there are way more important things at play. But yeah, it could be that your reaction is going to incite your opponent to do something. And okay, we see the play that was made, ET for 8 by Jim, blocking Emir and NE, which I think was the highest scoring outplay. But Emir will still fit to the, or Meyer will fit with, Emir will fit with MEH, yes. Okay. That's actually higher scoring, isn't it?
Indeed it is. All right, we'll cut to overhead mic as Orry's going to go out in this one, giving you a final of 335, 541, a 200-point win for Orry, looking to do damage here.
$541, $336.
Okay.
I suppose we follow the same protocol up here. Kind of thing.
Okay.
So Yucky looked terrible, and I would have challenged it, and it's bad.
It's bad. Huh?
Yeah, but it gave me a bingo, and I didn't have that stuff.
I just looked it up last week, but I forgot what the answer was.
Yeah, so I wrote them all. I'm like, oh, that's bad, but I don't know.
Oh, that was if you knew.
So I challenge it off, and then what do I do?
Well, those are my good letters.
Yeah.
So if you knew it's not good, you should definitely challenge it off.
Yeah. I guess I wasn't 100%. I was quite
I know,
sure.
I know
it
what the
was
number is, but it's
Yeah.
pretty, you're pretty sure. I mean, there's, I don't know, my BQ left over.
Wow.
So
Yeah, if I just challenge and then I exchange
challenge
FG.
and play like FG, I gotta probably exchange.
Yeah.
And your nets, you net 27 this way, and I get out of some like 5 bad tiles.
Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't quite 100%. So maybe
You're like 90%, then now it's getting
it was
close.
at least, yeah. I wrote them all. I was like, man, that looks so horrible. But,
Do you have a 7? You don't, right? So
no, I'm quite sure I don't. Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I was thinking
All right.
about. I was like, well, I don't think I have a 7. Yeah, 40 is a lot. I should just challenge it in exchange, I think.
but if you're 100% sure, you should challenge it.
I just
you're
was, I
80,
was,
You should. If you're 90, you're getting in the
Yeah.
range.
I wasn't quite 100%. It looked really bad. It's like 90, 95%. Hard to remember all those.
That's on my list, I think, too. There's a long list, though. I was blocking a mirror. I didn't see the spot. So I should have just played Veil or Kite.
Well, I mean, I've got it right here.
No, but this way is like a lot. I thought your choices were this or Dimer.
Okay.
Oh, we were here 9, 13, 9, 12, 14. So I only saved 2 points and I gave up like 7.
Okay.
All right, yeah, I made a mistake. Okay. I knew that I was probably overlooking something. I should just take the points.
Yeah, nice
always-
discussion
I like
there
arguing.
about
Like I think you have to be honest.
the
with
opening
yourself,
play
rather than be practical.
and about a lot of the other decisions. Yeah, it's great to see Jim Geary back in action, Matt. And maybe we'll see him if he goes on a nice run. It is still early. He will be 1-2 after this. Orry Swift will be 3-0, potentially propelling himself into first place in the standings after such a huge win.
He'll have a lot of work to do to catch up on Mac Miller, who was 2-0, but plus nearly 400 spread points. Even a small Mac victory would give Mac or help Mac retain possession of first, but it's early, and I think any player worth his or her salt knows just don't go 2-5 day one, and I'm probably okay. Just stay in contention. That's all anybody's trying to do here. But of course, the undefeated start, always going to feel good for somebody in Iowa at the SPC.
Yeah, it is pretty much confirmed that Orry will be in first place after this. Mac Miller also won his third game. He's 3-0 plus 382. Orry's going to be 3-0 plus 477. And unless Joey Krafchick won his game by 350 points, we have a new leader after 3 games. But yeah, not a huge deal either way. Players still discussing their game, but we've had 3 really nice post-mortem discussions, Matt.
Yeah, 3 really nice post-mortem discussions over the positions, and I just find myself kicking myself. I wanted to ask you, how sure do you have to be that Yucky is invalid to challenge it off? My thought was somewhere between 90 and 95%. That's almost exactly what Jim Geary said, and he's so used to playing the probabilities as a poker player himself, or he was probably right around in that range. But anyway, great discussions, fun start to the action here, and Orry Swift, Beaumont, Texas, a college professor, and your leader through 3 rounds. Round 4 coming your way soon. Michael Fagan and Lisa Odom on tap. That'll be our final game before the lunch break here on day 1 of the SPC. I'm stoked, Josh. How about you?
Very stoked. We get to see another champion. There was another matchup we could have shown, but it is still early. We want to show as many players, top heavy hitters as possible. So we're going to be showing this one. It's going to be a fun matchup. I don't know if Michael and Lisa have played before. I think they probably have. We'll look into that while the players get set up. We'll take a short break, bring you the last round before lunchtime. So don't go anywhere. Round 4 coming up.